Alright guys, in this video we are going to learn about the middleware. In previous video we covered how to create a basic Express server. If you haven't watched that video, I will link that in I button above. So let's learn about the middlewares. So middleware is a function that can perform an operation on the request and response object. It can also end the request and response cycle. So to use middleware in Express app, you need to use app.use, and within this use you need to define a function, and this function accepts a request, response, and a next function as a parameter. All right, so request is whatever the request that is coming from client, response is whatever the server will be sending back, and next is the next handler for any route. In this tutorial we are going to create a simple logger middleware which will log all the requests with its method and the response. Let's say console.log, and I will be using the backticks here because we are going to log multiple items here. So very first thing that we are going to log is a request dot method. Next thing we are going to log is, let's write that in the curly braces. Next thing we want to log is request dot path, and last thing that we are going to log is the response dot status code. So now whenever a request comes to any of the route, this middleware is going to be called and it will print out all this stuff on our console. So let's try out. I will open a terminal and do node index.js, and in my browser I will navigate to localhost 3000, and when I go to localhost 3000 you can see the process is hanged, although you can see on console that it is logging what we asked it to log. This is the request method, this is the path, and this is the response of the route. So one thing that is very important to understand here, we need to call this next method, otherwise our request will get hanged. So let's fix this problem. I will stop the server, and here in the middleware I will call this next function. Okay, once we save this and we restart the server, and again if I refresh the browser window, now you can see hello world is printed on the screen, and you can see in the console we have the request.method, this is request.path, and this is the response code. So this is very generic middleware that we have created. There is another way to create a route specific middleware. So let's say for this particular route, that is homepage route, we want to have a separate middleware. So we can have a separate middleware here, and we can call it as home middleware, and this middleware is going to be called only when a request is made to the home page. And again in this middleware we are going to say request, response, and the next function. Okay, and we will just print out a simple message here, user requested home page. So this will log user requested home page, and once we have logged this value we need to again call the next function here. So we need to update our home page route and include this middleware like this, home middleware, and after this we need to put a comma. So this is the last handler that will be ending the response cycle, and this is the middleware that is going to be called before this response handler. So once we save this file and restart the server and we refresh the page, you can see this is our first middleware that we defined here, and this is the route specific middleware that is being called for this particular route. And if we try to access any other route which doesn't exist, you will see here that only the default middleware was invoked and route specific middleware was not invoked for this particular request. And that is how you can create middlewares in the Express application. Middlewares are very powerful to modify the response and request object. They are very commonly used in user authentication, cookies, session, logging the request and response. If you like my video, please smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. See you next one.